All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. In a New York Minute, the team that plays at the world's most famous arena just became even more pricier than they already were. Earlier this week, we saw the New York Knicks acquire swingman Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets, and in the process, they are also taking on his contract, which is going to pay him more than $24 million for next season. And before that day was over, the Knicks decided to give forward OG Anunoby the largest contract in franchise history, as both sides agreed on a 5-year deal for that's going to pay Anunoby $212 million. So, with the contracts of Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, and Bridges alone, the Knicks have committed in the area of $125 million to these five guys. And you just got to wonder how and if the Knicks are going to feel the NBA's money crunch. Now, for the last couple of months, I and a lot of other people have been talking about this, and it's about the salary cap apron, that additional salary cap apron that is going to kick in for the upcoming season. And with that additional salary cap apron, it means teams like the Knicks, they are going to be paying much more in the luxury tax category if things remain the same. Now, of course, with the salary cap and of course with the luxury tax, what does that mean? It's more of a deterrent to try to get teams away from spending. And of course, the more you spend, the bigger the penalties that you have. But clearly, Knicks team owner James Dolan is okay with paying that luxury tax bill, but just in case that he weren't, and of course, and everything uh, coming back to that additional salary cap apron, could somebody be the odd man out, so to speak, if the Knicks are looking to free up some money? Well, we know it's definitely not going to be Mikal Bridges. They just picked him up. We darn sure know it's not going to be OG Anunoby, and we for sure know that it's not going to be Jalen Brunson. But for me, I'm gonna throw out a name. Would the Knicks trade forward Julius Randle? I mean, you look at it, Randle has been a very productive player with the Knicks, an all-star player, one of their best scorers. They got to the second round of the playoffs this season primarily without him. Of course, Randle was out for a bulk of the season with that shoulder injury. But would the Knicks look to come off of that deal for Randall that's going to pay him $30 million for next season? And of course, he has a player option for the following year at $32 million. I'm just throwing this out there hypothetically, okay? I do see a scenario where the Knicks try to move the contract of Mitchell Robinson because, again, the Knicks are looking to re sign Isaiah Hartenstein. At first, I didn't think it was going to be a possibility, but I also did not think it was a possibility that the Knicks were going to bring back Anunoby, especially after they went out there and got Bridges. So I was shocked once I heard the news of them bringing back Anunoby, but also at the price tag uh, that they decided to bring him back. I was extremely shocked by that. Again, not because the Knicks didn't want him, it's just because of the current money crunch that is going on around the league. So it's one of those for me. I don't see a scenario where both Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein are going to be in Nick uniforms next season. It's going to be one or the other. And of course, the salary cap crunch plays into things. It's one of those where maybe somebody goes out there and gives Isaiah Hartenstein a deal or an offer this summer that the Knicks simply don't want to match. And honestly, I would not be surprised if somebody went out there in free agency and made Isaiah Hartenstein an offer that he couldn't refuse. So, of course, with James Dolan, like I said, will he be okay playing this hefty bill? And I think for the moment he will. And the reason is this: you look at the Knicks, and it's one thing to be penalized and have a hefty salary cap or luxury tax bill if you're a bad team. The Knicks were a good team last season, And already in a week or so, they have vastly improved their team, and they have vastly, in my opinion, improved their chances of doing or making even bigger strides next season. You look at it, you bring in Bridges. Clearly, he played collegiately with Brunson, DiVincenzo, and of course Josh Hart. There's a lot, okay, a lot of foundation right there between those four former Villanova players. They could probably complete each other's sentences. Okay, it's one of those deals. And when you think about those Villanova teams that won championships with Jay Wright as their head coach, it was a lot about ball movement. It was a lot about playing without the ball. It was a lot about efficiency, and it was also a lot about selflessness. Because, of course, when you see the depth that the Knicks currently have, you say to yourself, okay, who's going to get the ball? We know that Jalen Brunson is the floor general for this Knicks club, but at the same time, you need guys that can play without the ball. DiVincenzo fits that box. Josh Hart fits that box, as well as Mikal Bridges. You bring back Anunoby, and it's a situation where Anunoby, and this is no disrespect to him, okay, not a great player, but he has a lot of things that he does well, and it fits into what the Knicks do on both ends of the court. Not only that, you look at the splits this past season as far as the Knicks win-loss record when Anunoby played and when he didn't. And it's one of those where it made it easy if you're the Knicks front office to definitely bring him back. Like I said before, it's going to be very interesting to see how they make these numbers work. Clearly, first things first, the Knicks could say, well, you know what, we'll probably just slightly raise prices at Madison Square Garden, and that'll work because you put it like this: people were giving James Dolan money, and he was making money hand over fist when the Knicks were winning 25 games a year. So, what do you think is going to happen when you have a Knicks team that has a potential to win 50 or 55 games and make a serious run in the NBA playoffs? People are going to be more than happy to go out there and pay to see the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Keith Watkins, excuse me for that. Greetings from the ATL. Yes, greetings. Good evening, happy Friday evening, and I hope all is well with you. You're calling, you're chiming in rather. It's not a call in, excuse me, from the ATL. Just talking a little basketball, talking a little bit New York Knicks. I'm not sure if you're a Hawks fan, but I'm sure you probably heard the news by now as far as Deontay Murray being traded from the Hawks to the New Orleans Pelicans. There's a lot of player movement going on this offseason, as I expected, due to that additional salary cap apron. And speaking of that additional salary cap apron, that's why I'm talking about things with the New York Knicks, not to beat a dead horse, but I was very surprised, okay, when the Knicks went out there and gave Anunoby the contract that they did right after they acquired Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets. But at the end of the day, they got to find a way to make it work. And I think when it's all said and done, financially, they will, because it's not like this additional salary cap apron just crept up on somebody. This was agreed upon, okay, by both players and owners in the CBA, both big market owners as well as the small market owners. And typically, when you got a situation, whether it's a salary cap, whether it's a luxury tax, it's usually the smaller market owners that are pushing it from a competitive balance level because, of course, without a salary cap, a team like the Knicks, can just go out there and spend big in a big market. So it's all about that competitive balance. But at the end of the day, big market teams like the Knicks have known this for quite some time, and I think they're going to go out there and try to make this thing work. Fall back haters, love that handle right there. You're saying OG is a big piece for the Knicks. Absolutely. Because you look at it again, like I said before, the win loss total for the Knicks changes drastically when he's not out there. It's one of those where you go back to the second round when the Knicks lost to the Pacers. And clearly, the Knicks had other injuries, okay? But when he went out, that really changed a lot of things right there for the Knicks as far as what they could do, especially at the defensive end of the floor. And it changed things for the Indiana Pacers. And of course, the rest was and is history. You're saying Keith Watkins, you're saying OG is almost as important on defense as JB is on offense. I totally agree. And I think one of the big reasons why the Knicks brought him back at the price tag that they did was they're looking at it like this. Granted, you've got other contenders in the East, but right now, clearly, we all know that the Boston Celtics, they're the kings of the mountain. So if you're the Knicks, you got to sit back and say, hey, what can we do to get past Boston? That's the way they're looking at it as far as being able to get out of the East. What can we do to get past Boston? And if you look at Boston, you have a solid point guard in Drew Holiday, but you also have wings in the category of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. So what do you got to do? You got to go out there and throw guys at those wing players, okay, in order to get past the Boston Celtics. And the Knicks have drastically improved. And I really think that it's going to be a situation where they're going to have the ability, okay, to hit the ground running due to the telepathy, if you will, that Bridges already has with Brunson, with Hart, and DiVincenzo. It's not like he's coming into the situation blind. He's played in the same city with these guys for a year or so now. And like I said the other day, right after the trade, I guarantee you that these guys from Villanova, they were having conversations. And I'm sure he probably saw his crew, right across the river at MSG, like saying to himself, hey, what can I do to get there with these guys? And now, of course, he is at Madison Square Garden with his college buddies, and they're going to go out there and try to make this thing work. But again, I think the Knicks are still going to get creative as far as making it work financially. And the Knicks are in a better spot than they were maybe 4 or 5 years ago. As you could say, playing for the Knicks is a little bit more desirable or much more desirable than it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, which means if you've got a veteran player, maybe he takes less money and is willing to come in there and play for the Knicks. We got to wait and see. I still think the two biggest things in this equation, possibly moving the contract of Mitchell Robinson. I don't see a scenario where they keep both him and Hartenstein. And if they can find a way to move Mitchell Robinson's contract, then I think the percentages go up as far as Isaiah Hartenstein coming back to play for the Knicks. But like I said before, it wouldn't surprise me to see somebody overpay Hartenstein as well. And I'm just going to throw it out there. Maybe they go out there and try to move Julius Randle's contract. I'm not sure. Okay, it's a possibility. But one thing is for sure, and I said this, and I'd actually been saying this for the bulk of the season. We were going to see a lot of player movement this offseason for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, that additional salary cap apron. Okay, that right there is a game changer. And it, again, like I said before, it's not like it snuck up on anybody. Everybody knew this going in. And of course, when you have a sound front office that's good with crunching numbers, they're going to find workarounds. It's just like the old CBA with the bird rights and the mid-level exception and all that other stuff. The good teams that want to go out there and win, they find a way to make it happen. And I think the Knicks are at a point right now. They got to try to find a way to make the numbers work. And I think possibly they go out there and make it happen. Fall back, you're saying, I think Hart is gone. Excuse me, is gone. OKC interested in him. I have heard that the Thunder have been interested in Hartenstein. And, maybe they go out there and make him an offer that he simply can't refuse. I know from a fan standpoint, more often than not, people, can get frustrated when a guy leaves, especially when he's a fan favorite. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And I'm just going to throw some numbers out there. And let's just say the Knicks, offer Hartenstein 4 years, $60 million. Let's say an OKC, for an example, comes back and says, okay, we'll give you 4 years at 88. That's $28 million that he's possibly leaving on the table. Not saying that he would go, but more often than not, these guys, they're going to go out there and get the top dollar. At the end of the day, it's a business. But that's going to be the thing right there. Would they move on from Mitchell Robinson? And honestly, it would really surprise me at this point if Mitchell Robinson is back with the Knicks next year. Just throwing it out there, okay? But like I said before, there's going to be plenty of player movement this summer. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. That additional salary cap, the cap apron rather, is a game changer, and it's going to make a lot of teams go out there and think twice. But if you're the Knicks, you've positioned yourself very good before July 1st, and then on top of that, this is the most excitement that the Knicks have had in a very long time. Okay, and I've seen the Knicks play basketball now for quite some time. This is the most excitement that they've had. Win or lose, I will say this, and I said this the other day as well. The NBA is a better place when the Knicks are competitive, not even winning championships, because of course you got to go back more than 50 years to see the last time that the Knicks won. But the NBA is a better place when they are competitive. You think about the battles that the Knicks had with the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. Never beat them when they had Michael Jordan, but they were always competitive. You think about those battles that the Knicks had with the Pacers in the 1990s. And of course, you know, it was one of those things when NBC originally had their NBA package, the Knicks were constantly on there, okay, because they were must see TV. The Garden was rocking, love them or hate them, but they were exciting. And I think they're getting back to this. It's a new generation of Nick fans that are, getting the opportunity to get a taste of it. And I think when it's all said and done, you know, things could be good for them. Knicks 100 AGM. You're saying this ain't them days. It's a new era for the Knicks. We're gonna win one. Well, I'll tell you like this: if the Knicks can find a way to get it done, New York City is going to go crazy. I've said this about the Big Apple when it comes to championships. Of course, the Yankees, win or lose, the Yankees are the Yankees. People expect them to win. The Giants have won their fair share of championships, okay, in comparison to the Jets. But for me, you can flip it around any way you want. Jets, Knicks, or the Mets. If one of those teams were to win a championship, I don't know what their respective fan bases in the Big Apple would be able to do because it's been so doggone long, and you have, a young generation, a younger generation of Nick fans that they don't even really, unless they go to YouTube or something like that, they don't know about a Charles Oakley or a Patrick Ewing from the 1990s, and now they've seen the Knicks be so bad for so long throughout the 2000s and the 2000s and 2010s, and of course there was a little bit of excitement when the Knicks got brought in Carmelo Anthony, but I think it's a little bit different now because this team is built slowly. They haven't made foolish draft choices. They haven't traded away draft picks until this week, but you see what they brought in to give away those, which resulted in them giving away those picks. And they've built slowly and steadily. And so far, so good for the blue and orange. E. Gibson, you're saying this is the best uh, we've had in decades. And it really is. You know what I'm saying? Again, like I said before, um, Madison Square Garden was buzzing this past season. And I think it's going to happen again. And you're saying Knicks 100, you're saying we got no washed up stars. And that's been a problem for the Knicks in the past. You all know it's one of those where they go out there, they get guys that are either A, past their prime, or B, they draft guys that their fan base, just looks around at each other and like, who, what? And of course, When I think about that, one thing that comes to mind, and I know it was a long time ago, but I still think about Frederick Weiss being drafted by the Knicks in in the first round of the '99 NBA draft, and of course, his one highlight that he ever had was getting dunked on by Vince Carter in in the Olympics. So that really summed up the Knicks of that era. But nonetheless, fast forwarding to the present, this team is going to be very, very exciting for the coming year. And if they can stay healthy, it's game on. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take all this time to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. And for all you basketball buffs out there, if you like what you heard and saw tonight, I'm definitely going to be talking a lot of NBA basketball over the coming days. Like I said before, free agency frenzy is upon us. And I think the fact that we had a weaker draft this year, that additional salary cap apron as well, I think all of that is going to factor into more player movement than we have seen in recent years. And I think it's already started. Mikal Bridges going from the Nets to the Knicks. We just saw Dejounte Murray get traded by the Hawks today from the to the New Orleans Pelicans, and I think there's a lot more to come around the bend between now and probably like the 10th or 15th of July. So definitely, if you like what you saw and heard here, stay tuned in the coming days because there will definitely be much more to come. Keith Watkins, definitely thank you for chiming in. Same goes for you, Paul Fallback Haters, Knicks 100 AGM, E. Gibson. Thank you all for chiming in and showing support. Much appreciated. Like I said, there'll be more basketball talk right around the bend. And thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Once again, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off and saying take care. And everybody out there have a wonderful day and an even more wonderful weekend. Be well, everybody.